What if I told you the reason so many never speak up isn't because it didn't happen? It's because the system was built to protect the wrong people. Sexual harassment isn't new. It didn't start with Hollywood or hashtags. It's been here, quiet, protected, and ignored for generations. But silence is no longer an option. At Next Level Studios, we're here to keep you educated and informed, because when you know your rights, they can't strip you of your dignity. And when you understand the system, you're no longer afraid to challenge it. This is about more than stories. This is about survival. This is about power, and this is about justice. Whether you're a woman or a man, if you've ever felt violated, ignored, cornered, or afraid to speak, this is for you. Because change starts with knowledge, and that's what we do at Next Level Studios. No gatekeeping, just truth. The history behind sexual harassment. To understand how we got here, we have to look at where it all began. Sexual harassment wasn't even a term until 1975, but the behavior, it had been happening in silence for centuries, buried beneath power, patriarchy, and fear. Women were expected to be silent, to laugh off inappropriate comments, accept unwanted touches, and risk everything if they dared to speak up, including their jobs, reputations, and safety. It wasn't until 1986, after decades of pressure, that the U.S. Supreme Court officially recognized sexual harassment as a violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. That case, Meritor Savings Bank v. Vinson, changed the legal landscape forever. For the first time, the law acknowledged that a hostile work environment wasn't just unfair, it was illegal. But even with laws in place, the culture hasn't caught up. Most cases still go unreported. Most victims still feel powerless, and far too often, justice is still denied. Sexual harassment can be verbal, inappropriate jokes, comments, or propositions; physical, unwanted touching, brushing against someone, or assault; nonverbal, lewd gestures, repeated staring, or suggestive emails and texts; digital, DMs, photos, or messages that cross the line. And here's what most people don't realize. Men can be victims too. Harassment doesn't care about gender. It's about power. It's about control, and no one is immune. If it makes you uncomfortable, if it makes you feel unsafe, degraded, or violated, that's harassment, and you don't have to tolerate it. When it comes to sexual harassment, the law is clear. You have rights, and no employer, manager, or coworker has the right to take them from you. Under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, it is illegal to harass someone based on sex, and that includes unwanted sexual advances, verbal or physical harassment, and any behavior that creates a hostile work environment. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. It doesn't matter if it's a boss or a coworker. If the behavior is unwelcome and affects your ability to work, it's harassment, and it's illegal. Federal law protects you in workplace, schools and universities, government agencies, any environment where you have the right to feel safe. And retaliation, that's illegal too. If you file a complaint and your hours are cut, your job is threatened, or you're treated differently, they're breaking the law again. But knowing your rights is only the first step. The next step is knowing how to fight back. It's one thing to know your rights, it's another to know how to use them. If you've been sexually harassed, there is a path forward, but every step matters. Step 1, document everything. Write down what happened, when it happened, where it happened, and who was involved. Save emails, texts, screenshots, any evidence you can get your hands on. Step 2, report it internally. If you feel safe doing so, report the harassment to your supervisor or your company's human resources department. Use email so there's a written record. Be clear, direct, and specific. Step 3, keep a personal file. Document how they respond. If they ignore it, retaliate, or try to intimidate you, keep notes. Your paper trail could be your protection. Step 4, file an official complaint with the EEOC. If your employer doesn't take action, you can file a complaint with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. You must do this within 80 days of the incident. You can file online, by mail, or by visiting a local EEOC office. Step 5. Consider legal action. If the EEOC finds your case valid, you may be able to take legal action. A lawyer can guide you through the process and help protect your rights. The system may be intimidating, but you don't have to go through it alone. Every time someone speaks up, the system shakes, and silence loses power. Speaking up is powerful, but it's also emotional, exhausting, and often uncertain. So what happens after you file a complaint? You might be heard, you might be ignored. Some companies take immediate action, others do the bare minimum. Some pretend to care while quietly protecting the harasser. You might face retaliation, and that's illegal. Your hours might get cut. Your team might distance themselves. You might feel like you're being pushed out. But remember, retaliation is also a form of harassment, and it is against the law. You might be forced to relive it, but that doesn't mean it was wrong to speak. You may have to repeat your story, answer questions, or face your harasser in an investigation. But the pain of reliving it doesn't erase the power of revealing it. You might lose something, but you'll regain yourself. Sometimes people lose walls, relationships, or peace in the short term. But what you gain, your voice, your truth, your dignity. The system was never designed to make this easy, but every time someone speaks up, the next person feels a little braver. With all the laws, policies, and movements, you'd think more people would speak up. But the truth is, most never do. They stay silent because they fear not being believed, because they've seen others speak up and lose everything. They worry about being labeled difficult, about being blackballed, isolated, or humiliated. And let's be honest, in many environments, those fears are justified. Too many companies protect their image over their people. Too many communities still blame the victim. And too many abusers still walk free because they know the system is on their side. But that can change, and it starts with us. It starts with believing survivors even when it's uncomfortable. It starts with educating men and women on boundaries, respect, and accountability. It starts with holding institutions responsible, not just when it's trending, but always. Silence protects the system, but truth breaks it wide open. The system thrives on silence, on fear, on keeping you in the dark about your rights. But when you speak up, when you learn how the system works, you don't just protect yourself, you protect someone else too. This documentary wasn't just about awareness, it was about power. And the moment you understand your rights, you start to take that power back. At Next Level Studios, we're not here to go viral. We're here to keep you educated and informed, because change starts with knowledge. No gatekeeping, no filters, just the truth. If you or someone you know is being sexually harassed, don't wait. Learn your rights, document everything, and speak up. Keep learning, keep rising, and never let silence be your sentence.